Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Ridwanullah family. Welcome to a new episode of the Ridwanullah Show. I'm your host, Life and Wealth Maximizer, Hussein Mohamud, working to help you completely maximize your life and wealth in this dunya and in the akhirah for the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Verily all praise and thanks are due to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, our creator, owner, and sustainer, the one who's worthy of all worship without any associates or intermediaries. And may the peace and blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala be upon the most esteemed leader and most honorable teacher, Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, his family, his companions, and those who follow him until the day of judgment. Allahumma ameen. And in today's interview, I got a special guest with me, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, my brother Ajmal. I was about to say Amin. I was interviewed your brother just a few moments ago. But Jazakallah khair for the opportunity to interview you as well.
Thanks for having me. Assalamu alaikum, everybody who watches. Thanks for inviting me. No, I've seen a couple of clips.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely, I love being here.
Alhamdulillah.
Especially with you. It's been a while. I know it's been a while we haven't spoken, but our bond is so strong that it doesn't matter that
Absolutely.
we still have that love for each other.
Absolutely, and I genuinely feel that, alhamdulillah. On screen, off screen, in between, alhamdulillah rabbil alameen. So, what we're going to mainly be talking about is, your journey into technology, the technology industry. You graduated from the University of Utah, alhamdulillah rabbil alameen. So before we dive into it, give yourself a brief introduction to the people, just your background, whatever else you'd like to share.
My name is Ajmal Amiri, and I've been here for about 20 years now. I'm from Afghanistan. I was born in Kabul. I was born there. I wasn't raised there. I was raised, and mostly my younger age, I've been in Pakistan.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I remember of more than Afghanistan, even though I'm from Afghanistan.
Yeah.
I came here in 2001, went to elementary here, 6th grade, and then junior high school, and then went to college, graduated. I got my bachelor's in information system.
Okay.
And
From the business school?
Yeah, from the business school.
Cool.
Yeah. And currently working as an IT at Dell, and that's what I've been doing for the past 5 years, working as an IT, just different companies, but it's been almost 2 years at Dell.
At Dell.
Yeah.
Alhamdulillah.
Yeah, alhamdulillah, that's it.
That's pretty cool, man. I love the reason why I don't understand too much the medical school, but I do understand more so the technology. So I'm eager to get into that. Bi-idhnillahi ta'ala. What led you to technology, the technology industry?
So when I was in high school, even junior high, I had a passion in being a pilot. That was one of my everything we would play. We have toys. I'd get a plane. Whenever we'd talk in our heads, right?
Yeah.
I'd make up so of me being a pilot. That's I remember that. And my mom knew that I love being a pilot, and she's do that.
Yeah.
Went to high school, and I was I want to be a pilot. But then, I'm what if I don't get a job in pilot, especially with what happened, and it's just something like that. And then for me, I was lucky because I had my older brother support me. That my oldest one, he didn't go to college, but he had he gave me more support than anybody else would, And I had two of my other brothers older than me. That were going to college currently when I was in high school.
Yeah.
And they'd always tell me, make sure that you don't say, you don't give up. There'll be times where it might get tough. You might not know, but just keep on trying.
Yeah.
And my biggest motivator was my mom. She would get more happy than I would when I especially when I graduated college. She was more happy than I was.
Yeah.
And just seeing that, it was different for us. Especially for me and my other brother Ahmed. My mom was my mom and dad the whole time. If somebody asked me, tell me something about your dad, besides the stories that I heard, I wouldn't know. I'm that's my mom,
Yeah.
So that's why I'm I never had college. Throughout my college career, there was times where I'm man, this is hard. I can't do this, but I've never been to the point where I want to give up, because always in the back of my I'm like, this is for my mom. It's like, that's what motivated me, even though when like I'm about to fail a class, I'm like, oh, I gotta somehow get a C at least, make sure this doesn't hold me back or anything. So it would always be that, and I could see like how just, going from 1 year to 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, I could just see each year, I could see how happy my mom would get, and that's what drove me. That's like the main thing for me. Like, I know of like, for me, like, education was important, but I think that happiness was more important to me than education, I'm like, and it's a benefit to me, like, and she wanted the best, and she knew that this was going to be the best for me later on in my life. But for me at that time, being a student, I wasn't thinking like that. I was like, this is for my mom.
Absolutely.
And that's why. So when I started, when I was junior in high school, we take those ACT tests. I didn't know what to study for and all this. So I knew from my two brothers, Najib and Ahmed, that like, make sure you get, I think you have to get like 17 or 18 where you didn't have to do any other paperwork to get into the U, And I wanted to get into U, and my mom wanted to get to U, like, be like your brothers, I'm like, all right, And I'm like, okay, so, and my studying, so I had this friend, I'm like, let's study, but we don't know I don't know. We're like, yeah, we'll study.
First generation.
Like, we'll meet up at here, we'll study, we never met up. We set up, and the test is on a Saturday, so it's not on a school day, it's like...
Oh, this is high school, not college.
High school, okay. So
even
like,
more so.
So I'm like, all right, and so I'm like, I'll go take it. There's some like practices going on, like practice exams that give us. I take that home with me, but I never opened it. I never looked at it. So I'm like, and then like I think a day or 2 days before I started studying for it. Like, let's just, and I really, like even in high school, I really loved math, and that was like one of the things I was good at it, but I loved it too. So and I was like,
it came easy to you.
Yeah, exactly. It came, and so I just I was studying, but I was looking at what I liked, what I was good at. I studied that, and which was weird, like you should study what you're you know less of, so that way you're prepared for, And I knew math was going to be there, science and everything else was there, but I just, I'm like, oh, math, let me just start doing more math, And the ACT, my high school was in math than all the other 3 subjects. So I was like, all right, let's do this. So we went and took the test, and then a couple weeks or months later, they send you your score, And I got a score, I think it was like 18 or 19, just one above what was required. And I didn't know what that stand for, And then...
You just knew you had to target that.
Yeah, and I was like, I'll take that, And then one day, Ahmed asked me, he's like, did you ever take that test you said you signed up for? I was like, yeah, I took it. He's like, what did you get? I was like, oh, I got nothing. He's like, what do you mean? I'm like, yeah, and I didn't know how important that was at the time. Being a high school student, you don't like it. And he knew like that was
like, a big deal.
Yeah. And I'm like, yeah, I got this. And he's like,
and
okay.
You barely studied.
Yeah, and that
and
was
you
like,
only studied the math section.
The math, yeah. The other ones I like
crazy.
scanned through it, but like it wasn't like study,
Yeah.
So I was like, yeah, I got this. He's like, really? He's like, and he told me, he's like, I didn't see you study anything. He's like, well, you sure it wasn't a practice exam? I was like, no, it's an actual exam,
Yeah.
He's like, no, it must have been a practice. So he went and told Najib, and then at night, Najib came from work. He's like, did you take the test? I was like, yeah, I did. He's like, what did you get? I was like, this is where I got it. He's like, where's that paper?
That's a big deal. For
yeah, it was. And I didn't have the paper,
Yeah.
And I didn't know where the paper was.
They didn't believe you, I bet.
They did. And my mom actually had it. So, they send you a mail with this.
Yeah.
My mom hadn't kept that, but I didn't know. I just saw it. I'm like, oh, okay. And then I was like, oh, it's from this. And I was like, but actually, she kept that. So she's like, wait, I have something. She didn't know what it was. She just kept it.
Yeah.
And so she gave that to Najib. Najib saw it. He was so happy. And he told my mom. And then I was like, yeah, I got that. And for me, at that point, just looking at them, I'm like, I wasn't taking it as serious as I should. And I didn't have like the knowledge, I guess you'd say, like how important that was. I'm like, for me, like, being like a high school, like, yeah, I'm going to go to college, that's how my mentality was back then.
Yeah.
So he was really happy, and then after that, I'm like, oh, wow, like, this was something, So he took me out, he bought me new clothes, shoes, back then, like, buying new shoes was,
it was like, a big deal.
And especially, like, me, you didn't work, so I'm like, oh, wow, I'm like, I should have said this earlier today, hey, I got this, take me here, there.
Yeah.
So Najib took me out, he took us to dinner and all this, and I was like, all right. So getting to college, like I said, I love math a lot,
Yeah.
But I knew, like, I couldn't just say, oh, I'm going to study math, because I knew, like, I'm like, what am I going to do with that?
Right.
So I'm like...
Even at that young age, you're thinking like that?
I was like, Well, I spoke with Ahmed and Najib, and they knew that I liked math.
Yeah.
But they're like,
what is that?
yeah,
What's the career
what
path?
do you want to do later on with math?
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know. I just love math. You know, I don't know what I'm gonna do with it. They're like, all right. So I was like, just try something, you know. And then I knew like Najib was doing something in science, Ahmed was doing something in science. I'm like, and then I was like, just make sure you pick something where you have options at the end where you'll get a job, you know.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know, medical, you'll get a job no matter what.
Right.
So I remember picking my first classes. I'm like, you know what? I remember I took some chemistry. I took chemistry once in high school, you know,
Yeah.
and they had some math in it, you know. So I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm gonna pick chemistry because they had some numbers in it, so I might like that. So I took Gen Chem 1 and Gen Chem 2, you know.
Yeah.
I like Gen Chem 1. I'm like, okay, that's what. And I was like, I want to be a pre-pharmacy student. I want to go on that route. You know how you meet with your advisor, they schedule like each semester what classes you pick.
Yeah. So that's the track that you were on.
So that's what I picked. I'm like, I want to be a pre-pharmacy.
Yeah.
And I told Ahmed, I was like, all right, let's get it. And Ahmed asked me, he's like, what? I was like, well, he's like, do you love pharmacy? Do you love chemistry? I was like, well, yeah, I love it, you know, but I've never taken organic or anything like that.
Yeah,
you
the
know?
heavy hitters.
Yeah, so I was like, yeah, I love it. He's like, all right, well, perfect. And he's like, this is, you know, if you like it, this. But I told him, I was like, I like it because there's numbers, you know.
Yeah.
So I took Gen Chem 2. I was like, okay, you know, like it was really harsh for me. It wasn't easy. I barely passed it, but I'm like,
but it was
interest. Yeah, the interest was still there because they had a little bit of numbers, you know.
Yeah.
And then OChem started. Okay. When I got into that, I lost it. I didn't know what was going on. Everything I learned, I'm like, this is not chemistry, because I'm expecting like numbers, you know, and it's letters and everything like that. And I'm like, and I went up to him and I'm like, I hate chemistry. I'm like, he's like, wait, he's like, you said you love Gen Chem 1. I was like, yeah, because I had a lot of numbers.
It's the exact opposite of both of you.
There's so many formulas, this and that. I'm like, I love that stuff, you know.
Yeah.
He's like, oh damn. He's like, yeah. He's like, if you don't like chemistry, he's like,
this is not a good route.
And I'm like, okay. And it was getting hard too, so that had a factor in it too, you know.
Yeah. So
I'm like, yeah, you know what, I'm not gonna do this. So I'm like, let's go into tech, you know, like computer. So I was like, you know what? I like playing with computers. Let me do programming. I've never done programming at all. You know? So I'm like, okay. So I went and took some classes in computer science. Well, actually, I went and met with the advisor, and so I had some of the prerequisites, the other stuff covered, you know, but nothing with computer science.
Yeah.
So they're like, yeah, we have these 3 first prerequisites computer science class. You have to take. I'm like, okay. So I took that. The first one, second one, I was in the third one, you know. And then in my mind, I'm like, this is getting harder and harder. I don't know if I can keep this up. I don't want to. And that was.
And that's in the engineering.
Yeah, that's in engineering. So and I was taking like math classes. I was up to like Cap 2. I was taking physics. I took physics with my brother actually. So he had to take that physics too.
Ahmed?
Yeah, he had. It wasn't the regular. It was like the physics for scientists engineering one.
Oh, okay.
So he was in there and he helped me a lot. That like if he wasn't there, I think
I feel the same way with the calculus.
Yeah, like he helped me a lot. So taking that, I'm like, this is getting harder. But at that point, it wasn't the interest. I think it was like the fear of me just like, oh, I want to switch because it's getting hard. You know, like the student you get.
I've been there multiple times. Yeah.
And I'm like,
where you're like, this is, if it's hard now, what could it be in the future?
Exactly.
So I might as well find something that's better.
And then I was counting up the classes after the prerequisites, right?
Yeah.
And computer science is one of the longest majors.
Yeah.
So, and that
kind of
brought into like, oh man, there's more, you know. Yeah. But then I was like, you know, I have to finish though. So I'm like, you know, and then I spoke with Ahmed. Ahmed's like, this is not you not liking it. This is just when you get more workload, when it gets a little bit harder, you just want to switch. He's like, that's not right. Yeah. He's like, there's one, you know how you find your passion, but sometimes you don't find your passion
until you do the hard.
Yeah, stuff. Exactly. He's like, once it gets hard, you just give up. He's like, don't do that. He's like. So he just pushed me through it, you know, and all that, and I was like, no, I can't do this. He's like, just, if you can't do it, just get something similar to that, because it looks like you have interest to it, you just don't like the work for it, you know, like the hard work for it. Yeah. I was like, okay, so, and then I was like debating, and then it was just the spring semester ended, you know? Yeah. Or the fall semester ended, and then I found out about information systems, but that's in business field, so that's like,
which is a whole different department. Yeah.
And I was like, oh man, I have to start the prerequisites. Like, you can't take that information system.
Yeah, it doesn't apply. Yeah, because there's so many different prerequisites for that.
Exactly, yeah. And I'm like, oh, I can't do this. They're like, it's gonna put. So that summer, I actually took like 6 classes at Solid Community College so I can make up some time, you know.
Yeah.
And I was like, let me go take those classes prerequisites there.
Yeah.
So by fall, I could get this class I want, you know.
Yeah.
So that summer, I think I learned so much about myself, like for a college student, you know. I'm like, you know what? I took these classes in a rush. The only reason I did it is because I'm scared of being harder and harder, you know, with the computer science, with the pharmacy and all this, switching. I was like, I can't just switch on. So I made up my mind there, well, if I start this, if I hate it, if it's hard, anything like that, I have to finish it. Doesn't matter.
You're set.
You're set. I'm like, doesn't matter how much I hate it, I have to finish it. Because I was like,
this is when you're going to choose the next major.
No, I picked it, but I was in the classes at Solid Community College. You know, it was during that summer. You know, I was in class. I was like, I have to do this.
That's interesting.
So
okay.
I did that. I took that, and then the prerequisites, and then next fall I went back to the U and took some of the classes in the information system. I'm like, okay, you know, and there was a lot like. There's some programs, there's like 2 or 3 classes that are programming, but I've already done that in computer science, so it was a lot easier for me.
Yeah.
So there wasn't more challenging, but I liked it. But then I was like, you know, right there, and I was like getting to my like almost like last 2-3 semesters of before graduating. I was like, I should have stayed with computer science, you know. I'm like, this is after 2 years, you know, after deciding on that major, you know.
Yeah.
I'm like, I should have stayed with that. I know it's gonna be harder, but I think my passion was there, but I just gave up because it was getting harder, you know. I wished I would have just like spoke to like my mom. If she would say something, I think that would have like changed it more than
made you more committed to it.
Yeah. So then I went stayed with that. I'm like, I have to finish this. I stayed with the information system, graduated through it, and then my last year I got a internship at Intermountain as an IT.
Yeah.
So this was more of like a project management. So it wasn't like hardcore. Yeah. So, but you still get in touch. You speak with like the developer team. You speak with them. So it was really fun. I really liked it. Yeah. So I'm like, you know, and then I remember when I was with that team, we had one of the guys that went from that team to the development team. So that's the guy I was working with. When he went there, I still stayed in touch with them. Yeah. And I really liked what they did, you know.
In the development side?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm like, man,
and development just means programming.
Programming, right? Yeah. So he was more in programming. I'm like, man, I should have stayed with that. I'm like, and I spoke to him. He went to college. He said he got his computer science degree and all that. Yeah. I'm like, and I told him, I was like, yeah, I took that and I gave up on it. That's what I did. He's like, oh man. He's like, it's gonna be hard. But if you would have stayed with it, it would have paid off big. And then, you know, at that time, you look back and like, man, that was like a big mistake for me. Like, doing that, like, I should just like, I know it's going to be hard. Anything new you try, there's going to be something, if you're not used to, familiar to, it's going to be challenging, you know. But at that part, I was like, it wasn't that, it was just me being lazy, you know. It was more of that. And I was like, okay. But I was like, it's okay, I'll use that as an example through my work experience, make sure don't give up on anything, you know. Yeah. So while I was working on that, I was an intern. I was like, okay, so programming, you have to do like, I was searching like how to code and all this stuff. Yeah. I saw some of these camps, and they were like expensive and take a lot of time. And then when I graduated, I'm like, my manager said I picked this camp. It was a six-month boot camp. I'm gonna go into that. It taught you Java mainly, and just talking to developers on it, they're like, if you know Java, you'll be good, you know? Yeah. So, and then I graduated, and I had applied for other IT positions, different companies that I hadn't heard of. You know? Like, they didn't never called me for an interview or anything like that, so I wasn't expecting like a job or anything. I was like, well, I still have this internship. Yeah. So this internship, they give me an option to go to the network team to enter there, and I picked that. I was like, yeah. And that was like part-time. I'm like, why not? So I was there for about like 4 months doing the network side, it was IT/network, so it was like desktop help and network. Yeah. So and I like that network side a lot, like, because I learned a lot through. I've never had any classes in network or anything, but just like through experience, I'm like, you know, just take for you. Yeah, and future, I'm like, you know, like cybersecurity right now is big, you know,
it's huge.
And I'm like, even right now, like my interest in IT, like I love my job, but my interest, of course, programming.
What are you doing now?
So now I'm a system analyst support. So we have
system analyst.
Yeah, support.
Support. Okay.
So we analyze. So we have products. We analyze that. We test it before we sell it. So it's already sold to a customer, but we make sure
there's no bugs and
stuff. And then also it works with their software. So we test it too. And then while they're getting their system, put everything on there, we do that for them. and then test it for them, and then also train them. And then once they take over it, we're there for support. So just like if something happens,
okay.
Yeah, we support it. If we can't, then we pass it on to development. If it goes beyond like the coding level.
Yeah.
So that's what we do right now.
Okay.
But so yeah, and that's what happened. And I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna do this boot camp.
Yeah.
But then a company called Accenture, I had applied. I forgot I applied for them. Like I said, I applied, never heard anything back. They called me for an interview right before, it was like a week before our graduation date, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I'll go ahead and do that. So I went and
which position was this?
This was a web hosting analyst. So it was
web hosting.
Yeah, so it's mainly like HTML, and I'd taken a class, but I've never worked on it. I've never thought about it,
Yeah.
I'm like, and I did that, and I told them, I'm pretty much graduated.
Yeah.
Next week's my graduation. This, that. They're like, okay. So the interview went like so and so. They asked me questions, and I was like, the ones I knew, I told them. The ones I didn't know, I told them I never worked on it. Like, of course, you know how you do when you apply for a job.
Yeah, just kind of BS through the whole thing.
You Google stuff that you don't know, like, and they ask,
Yeah.
And I did that stuff, but if they asked me more technical stuff, I wouldn't know about it. So I knew the basics. I told them about the basics.
Yeah.
But the stuff that I've never like had classes on or worked on, I BS'd it.
Yeah.
So I went out and I was like, oh, they're not gonna call me. So I graduated, and then I got a call from them like they were offering a full-time job. Mm-hmm. I'm like, oh wow. And then I spoke with my mom, my brothers. I'm like, they're like, you're an intern. You'll get more experience. It's a benefit.
Yeah.
So that way,
it's more of a full-time position.
So while you're working there, you can learn, and then if you get something better, you could move on.
Yeah.
But so this way, they're like, here you're not full-time. They could just say, your intern's over because you're done from school.
Yeah.
So I accepted it, and I went there, and that was like, so that's pretty much my first like actual work, where it's
full-time,
professional, exactly. Because as an intern, you don't have like projects or anything like. There's no.
They're kind of babying.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I had this, and I got it. I'm like, okay, my first days. Of course, just like when you do something new companies, they train you and everything. So they train you and everything, and then slowly they build you up, right?
Yeah.
And I remember I'm getting my first project, and I'm working. So there, web hosting analyst, what we do is we create servers, online servers for our customers. So our customers were airlines. Most of them were overseas.
Oh, okay.
So most of them were overseas.
Yeah.
So whenever they do their work, they do it at night or when it's not business hours.
Yeah.
So it's during our day,
Yeah.
So we do most of that, but then we work with network team, development team, and all that. And I had interest, and even over there, my coworkers tell me, you always love working with the network team, and like. I'm like,
you're like inclined towards that.
And I'm like, oh,
and this is after the first initial networking within the internship.
Yeah. So
this is after that.
This is after. So
okay.
When I was there, I was there probably like 3 or 4 months.
Yeah.
I was there, and then I got offered. I got offered this position, and I took it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, I wish. So while I was there, I'm like, there's a position, but I barely got hired. I couldn't like say I'm gonna apply for the network. I'm like, I'm gonna wait till I'm here for like a year and a half, and then move on.
Yeah.
So I was there, and then just web hosting, I was getting used to this IT. So that was where I got most of my experience with IT, facing customers, facing network, project managers, having projects, deadlines, and everything like that. That's like experience,
Yeah.
I was there for like 2 years and like 7 months, 8 months.
Yeah.
And then one thing I learned was, I remember being there after a year and a half, right?
Yeah.
And I loved what I did. And the reason I loved it, they taught me so well that the stuff that we did, I just grabbed on it. Inside out. So my supervisor would come to like, hey, do this. I'm like, all right, And me, like, if they say, oh, do this with the development team, I would hesitate to go ask the development, oh, this is this. I didn't have that interest,
Yeah.
But when it was with network, I would just like jump on it,
Yeah.
Like, hey, we need this firewall, so these switches, this. I'll just jump on it. I want to learn, but also like get the connections and everything.
Yeah.
And
because you had that interest in moving on.
Yeah,
but with this one, there wasn't really a vision.
Yeah, there was because I'm like with developing, I can't move on to it until I learn.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna just learn from like these things because they're not gonna teach me because that's their side, right? But with the network team, even if they don't teach me, I can just see what they're doing. Yeah. But I have the interest, I'm like. Right. But if I had the same
it's kind of like going back to the math interest. You have these natural inclinations.
Yeah, and that's what caught me, and I'm like, so some of the projects that wasn't even and then it didn't have to be rushed or anything. I'll jump on that if it, like I'll see if it's network it hasn't been done. I'll jump on that and grab it and do it. And so what I learned that like, and then so what happened was, let me jump ahead. So after like 2 years and like 7 or 8, 2.5 years.
Yeah.
So our company they got more people overseas. They downsized in Americas. They laid off a lot of people. So when the first round, they cut off like 20, 30 people, and it was like 6, 8 people from our team.
Yeah.
I'm like, and at that time, it didn't affect me because I wasn't in that group and everything. But I'm like, and I didn't have that scary part where I might get laid off. I didn't even think about that stuff, you know, because I was like, look, I've been doing so much. Like even I have projects, I still pick up this other random projects, and then, like I said, I pick and choose. Like as network, and pick. It's okay, how much up, but I want to do. I want to learn, you know.
Yeah.
And they like that. So I'm like, I'm somebody that I'm like an asset, you know, like I'm helping them out.
Right.
I don't think they're gonna fire me or anything like that. I never, you know, that was never in my mind.
Yeah. Because then, you knew how valuable you were.
And that's what I thought for myself. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
I'm valued them, you know, like I've been doing this, I caught on fast, like even the supervisor when he talks to me, he always tells me like, hey, thanks for picking that up, you're not supposed to, but you do it, you know, this, that. And so I've never, you know, like, sometimes you have that fear, or they might, but I didn't, you know.
Yeah.
Then the second round came, I was in there, you know, they're like, you have 4 months, you're gonna be laid off, you know. And that hit me so hard, I'm like, it doesn't matter what you do for a company, they can replace you like this.
Yeah.
There is, like you were talking, you know, it's numbers. You know, it's numbers. It doesn't matter who you are.
Yeah.
If the numbers don't
just
add
a
up.
part of the number.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that hit me really hard, especially like being your first job, you know, professional job.
Yeah.
It hit me so hard. So they told me, I remember exactly, so our tech manager, so director, you know, he came, he's the one who was telling everybody personally. So he called me, it was 10 in the morning, he called me in the office, he's like, you want to do this, that. So, and then he's talking about how I would support you on this, that. But at that point, once I heard that, I don't remember what else he said. Because I was so like, and then I was just like, God, inside I was like, I was mad, I was everything, but I didn't know what to like do, you know, I was like, oh man. So I'm like, and he's like, go ahead, you know, if you want to like take the rest of the day, just think yourself like, so I'm like, I don't know what to do, man. I was like,
a lot of emotions.
Yeah, exactly. So I just went, we had like a garage parking, right? I went, it was like 2 floors, I just walked. I think I was just like 20 minutes just walking around, you know, just thinking to myself. And then I went and sat inside my car. I called my mom, and I'm emotional too, you know. I told her, and I could never forget it. So I called her, cause like I said, you know, my mom's like the big thing, you know, for me. Like, so I told her, I was like, so this is what happened. Remember when I told you they let other people go, they did it again, and I'm in that group. She's like, what do you mean? I'm like, they pretty much told me that within 4 months, I'm out of this. And she's like, really? She's like, you know, and she wasn't sad or anything. She said, you know what she said? She said, it might be better for you. She's like, don't think about it. Just, you know, be happy. Yeah. She's like, you don't know, something might better come up.
Yeah.
And but at that time it didn't hit me, but I'm still like, you know, I'm like,
you hear it, but it didn't register.
But and I didn't want to like on the phone. I didn't want to like sound like I'm crying. Like my eyes were watery. I didn't want my mom to know that. And I told her, like, no, mom, I'm good. You know, don't worry about it. I'm like, I know this. It happens. You know, but inside I was hurting a lot. You know. So I'm like, I can't go home right now too, because if I go home, I know I'm gonna like, if I see my mom, I'm gonna
lose it.
So I'm like, I went back. I told my manager, no, I'm gonna stay here, tell you that. And he's like, oh, just take your time. And I'm like, So.
But you had 4 months though.
Yeah.
So it's just that initial.
Like it hit you, like you know, like.
Because you were giving so much to that.
And that was the good thing, like, you know, that they just said, oh, you've done this last day, you know, that was a good of it. But at that point, I wasn't thinking that, you know, I was like.
Because you're like, this is over.
This is over, you know. So then I learned, I spoke after a while, I spoke with my brothers and everybody, my friends and everybody, you know, and then I learned, I'm like, you know, I think I just gotta like find something what I like and then never settle on that, you know. Always be able to adapt to new things. You never know. There's a lot of things you can't control. So that's why after that, alhamdulillah, I found a job at Dell. And then within that, before the 4 month ended, I found this one. So after like 2 months, I found it. And
after 2 months that it ended, or
no,
2 months after they gave you that notice?
Yeah, after that notice. 2 months after that notice, I found
But you're still gonna get paid for the 4 months?
If I would have stayed, if I didn't have find a job. But I found that, and I let them know I found it, and I moved on. And I learned, I'm like, you know, there's so many things you can't control. But I wish I would, like, even college, like right now, I wish I'm like, I would have been just like thankful for the small things, you know. And I'm like, there I just learned, I'm like, you know, I'm just thankful I have something.
Yeah.
If not, you know, I'm like, it's okay. Even right now, tomorrow, these guys tell me this is your last day, you know, we don't like you. This, you know, I'm like, I'll be thankful, and I'll just like go on. I'll use that time if I don't have work to teach myself something that will help me in career-wise.
Yeah.
So that's how I started thinking. You know, I'm like, I'm gonna work for a company. I'm gonna do my best, but also take care of myself too. Like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna also
Don't
on the
put
side.
yourself
Yeah, exactly.
last.
So I learned that, and then you know, I was just talking with my brother, especially in the gym. I talked to him like, you know, I like this company, but I'm not gonna be like doing what I did. I'm gonna do what they expect from me. I'm not gonna go above, be below. I'm just gonna do my best
Yeah.
of what they give me, and then I'm gonna focus on what. Oh, let me look here. That's better for me. I'm gonna jump on that. So
Project-wise or position-wise?
project and position wise. So
Okay.
so here project. So that with Dell is such a big company. So
It's more corporate. than,
yeah. So it's like every team has. They're broken up in a part where you have just you're limited
Yeah.
on what you're doing. So there's not that much exposure to other, you know, like development. So that's the for me that's bad. You know, that's
yeah,
the
because you don't get to connect with what you learn.
So, but then I told Najim, you know, like I've been like for the past like 6 months, I was like, you know, once I see something opening in cybersecurity, I'm gonna jump on that.
Yeah.
And I've spoken to some guys. I'm like, yeah, this is what I want. And so once my 2 year ends at Dell, so I got Dell. So I was through this program where I couldn't quit before 2 months. If I 2 years, if I quit before 2 years, they had a contract where I paid 10,000. But if I stayed, they wouldn't fire me. But after the 2 years, I could do whatever I want. So I'm like, okay, once my contract ends, I'll be on this team, but I'm gonna look for something that's better for me. I'm not gonna have to say, oh, this team, you know, it's good. I like my manager. I love him. Like he's such a nice guy to me, you know. And I'm like, but I'm like, at the end of the day, I'm like, he knows. I've spoken to him straightly. Like he's like everybody wants the best for themselves.
Right.
As long as you're doing your work the right way, it doesn't matter what team. You're still helping the company,
Yeah.
but you're looking out for yourself.
As long as you're advancing yourself within the
Exactly,
company.
Within the company, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm like, through career-wise, what I learned is I'm like, there's always an opportunity to learn something.
Right.
It doesn't matter what field you're graduated in, what you
Yeah.
studied. You could have 10 years of experience. I have coworkers that have been doing something for 10, 15 years, right?
Right.
But they're saying, there's always something I can learn.
Mhm.
If they can say that, me being 2 years in here,
Yeah.
there's a lot I could learn.
For sure.
And that's what I've learned too, just college-wise. You know, like even at work, you get stuff that you don't know. There's pressure.
Yeah.
You want to give up, but I think just being in that mindset I had in college, where I'm like, if I said something, I'm gonna finish it. I like it, don't like it, hate it. I have to finish it.
Right.
What I learned from just making that mindset is it gave me that where there's always a benefit at the end. Like
Regardless of all the hardship that you go through.
there's always a reward at the end.
Huh.
And that's what I've like
Wow.
college-wise.
Yeah, that's deep.
At the end, I finished.
Yeah.
If I didn't commit, I started jumping around. I would
Yeah.
have hurt my mom more than I would hurt myself, you know.
Yeah.
And I'm like, at the end, I remember right now, like I can remember that graduation day, walking, you know. I could see my mom's face. For me, I'm like with friends that, yeah, you know, it's graduating.
Yeah.
But when I saw that, like, I was crying because of my mom, not because I was graduating. I told that to mom, I was like, I never feel like that. I'm
Yeah.
like, she was so happy that I'm like, you know, see,
Mm.
it's worth it.
Yeah.
And then I carried that through my whole life. And I'm like, I wish I would have listened to that, especially like my brothers, you know, like when I was in college, like I had this attitude, but I'm like,
Feistiness is what I call it.
yeah,
Yeah,
like
I
didn't
love
care.
it. Before I was questioning it,
Yeah.
but now that I know the whole scope of it, I love that about
I'm
it.
like, but I
You
wish
didn't
I
take
would
anything from anybody.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I'm like, you know, I'm like, you say A, right?
Yeah.
I'm not gonna take it to the heart. I'm gonna say A, but if you take it to the heart, I'm not gonna care. You know, I had that. I wish I didn't. Like my brothers tell me, how come when you're in the house, take it to the outside, be the same. I've never like Najib would tell me that a lot, you know, and especially
Like
as a-
meaning what though?
like at home, like you know, like let me basketball, you know,
Yeah.
like I would just like say stuff that I didn't even think about it. Like I wouldn't even think about it. I don't care who he is. I'm gonna say whatever I want.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna worry about it.
Right.
But at home, none of that stuff. Like Najib's like, be that person outside too.
Yeah.
It's gonna change. Don't worry about what others say. It's gonna change yourself.
Yeah.
And now, even like I said, the past like before I got married, so I say the past like 2.5 years, I started like, I'm like, I wish I'd have done that from the beginning. It's just like, I'm like, he's right, like, outside we do things here, we have fun, this, but at the end of the day, what does it benefit you? If you hate yourself, you're like, oh man, why would I say something like that, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm like, why? That person's there too. He has his own life, his own family, you know. Inside, I'm like, okay, I said that. I go home, I don't worry about it. But what if he has something else to worry about, and then I don't do that, you know?
Maturity.
And I'm like, man, you know, I remember like, I used to, every single day I used to be like that. And then I
remember I had front row seat.
Yeah, and I'm like, man.
But you know, the thing about it for me was, I knew it wasn't ill-intentioned, you know?
Yeah.
Other people might see it differently.
Exactly.
But because I saw it from like the beginning all the way to, I mean, obviously not the beginning, but like from while you were younger, I saw the whole progression. I just knew you were feisty, and that was it. You know, it wasn't more like this guy was like intentionally trying to hurt people.
Yeah, exactly.
He's just trying to defend himself, and whatever comes his way, he's trying to move it out of the way, get to whatever he's trying to get to.
Exactly, and that there's good, like you can always take the good part of that, you know.
Yeah.
And then, but yeah, that's one thing I learned. But it's
the time is already 30. I swear to God, I'm thinking this is 3 minutes.
We'll wait 10 more minutes. This is like I want to talk more about it.
Oh,
they'll understand. We'll finish it later if you have to.
Oh my God.
So yeah, like that thing, like I know what you mean, like,
man.
But coming from like, I'm like, you know, and that's what I start focusing on, you know. Like I still go out, you know, but when something happens, I'm like, I think about it, just even for like a second, I think about it, and that helps a lot. Like it controls my tongue.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, you know what? Don't even say anything. Don't even say. Okay, he said, don't even say hi right now, because you know you're gonna say something else after. You know, don't just think about it and then say something. You know, and that's through work, through everything, like outside. You know, so I've been translating what I do at home slowly to the outside world, and now, alhamdulillah, like I think about it, I'm thankful. Like I'm like, I wish I'd done it. I wish I'd done it sooner. But I'm happy that at least I changed that part.
Yeah.
And just seeing like outside how I treat, and I see the funny part is, so we went with up to Boston, we went to play basketball, right? Yeah. And I see some kids come, and I see a kid, I'm like, man, that's me.
Yeah.
That
the
was,
feisty.
Yeah, I'm like, that was me, man.
Yeah.
But he's saying like words that you shouldn't say, but I know or if somebody says the same thing to that kid, he's not going to think about it, right? Yeah. But if he says something else, not everybody's like that.
Right.
And I'm like, that was me.
Man,
I wish I would listen to Najib. I wish I would just listen to Ahmed. Because I was with them most of the time when I was doing that stuff.
Yeah,
at that moment, they're like, just stop.
Yeah,
just
I remember all of that.
And I'm like, no, I don't care. You know, this is me. But I wish I would have done that sooner. But alhamdulillah, you know, like, you learn from everything, you know. Yeah. From the good, from the bad, anything you learn good from it. And that's what I want to, you know, there's always something to look back on and you're like, oh, this is good, this is bad. Yeah. Let's just try a step. You don't have to do that. You can't just say, I'm going to change the whole thing. That's hard. Like, people say that. Like, me personally, I'm like, what I've learned to, like, work, everything, it takes time. It takes step by step. Yeah. And that's, even, like, in Deen, like, so there's one thing about like talk about my older brothers, you know. So so the past like 3 years, Ramadan, what we've been doing during Ramadan, you know. Yeah. Like, you know, we want our knowledge to go on all this, right? Yeah. But we can't just jump on it. He's like, and alhamdulillah, my older brother, he knows a lot, and Rami knows a lot, and especially after once he went to Hajj and come back, right? Yeah. He's been like giving us reminders here and there, but there is some things that they know, I don't know, they know. Yeah. And I can't just jump on that, I want to know the whole
all
thing.
Of it. Yeah.
Slowly. So I'm with my older brother, I made a deal. I'm like, you know what, every Ramadan, what I'm going to do is each of our prophets, I want to learn a story just through that 30 days of just one prophet. Yeah. Just know it and then
and look at all the detailed stories.
And then get that and put that into my work, how I do my work, how I treat my wife, my brothers, this, that. Just see how slowly. So the last 3, wallah, like it helps so much. Like the last 3 Ramadan, like this Ramadan, Prophet Yusuf alayhi salam, I learned about it. Like I knew a little bit details like what happened, but I didn't know like the whole thing, you know?
Yeah. So
like
you dove into that.
Yeah, and I think we're out of time.
Yeah.
We'll go ahead and and continue. Let's continue.
Inshallah, what we're gonna do is, I'm blown away, mashallah,
Yeah,
mashallah. That's amazing, man. Okay, because being the host, I actually have somebody actually texted me saying that they're there. So, oh man. Okay.
How about this? Inshallah, that's part 1.
Yeah.
We'll do part 2, inshallah.
Inshallah.
And then we'll continue from there, inshallah.
Yeah.
Like,
man, I'm lost for
personally,
words, yeah.
Like Hussein knows, I'm not a talker. Well, especially about this stuff, I'm not a talker.
Yeah.
I was sitting there when they do my brother's his went an hour. For them, they're like, it went from 10 minutes. For me, it went like 10 hours, okay? But being in the sea, now I know what they're talking about.
I swear to God, it feels like, it's 40 minutes. It feels like 4 minutes.
Yeah, like, but
SubhanAllah. Okay.
That's what Hussein does. He's such a humble person. Like, he wants the best, even though he doesn't know you, he wants the best. Like Hussein knows, I treat Najib, Hussein's Najib, you know, like, I'll treat you two,
sure,
like, I've seen you two, like, that's how I know, like, we've been together, and that's
from
always as family. It doesn't matter about who you know, what you know, it's the experience we've been through, seeing each other, just the helpiness he has, the support, no matter what, you know, he's always there for you. And that's
I really
one thing.
Appreciate that, man.
Thanks a lot, man. Thanks for everything, man.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll finish it, man.
Jazakallah khair, man. I appreciate who you are, man.
Thanks,
Wallahi, bro. Like, I remember, I'll share, there's a lot more for me to share, but I will say this. I knew you were genuine from, like, let's say anything happens. You know when some people, you know when stuff hits the fan, they run?
Yeah.
I knew, like, deep down inside of me, I knew if anything happened, that you would you'd be the first to be there. So that in the back of my mind, I was always registering it. So that shows me that you're more than a genuine person, you know. So I really, really appreciate that, man.
Appreciate
you came with the fire, man. Mashallah. Mashallah. Inshallah, I don't know when we'll be able to schedule it again, but sooner or later, you know. Sooner or later, inshallah, we'll definitely schedule some more time and, you know, do that full hour. You came with the fire, man.
No, definitely. Thanks for having me, man. Inshallah. Pray for the best, inshallah.
Inshallah.
He's got 2 more subscribers from us. I'm the lazy one. I'm saying it better than I haven't subscribed, but
inshallah. Hopefully you'll definitely subscribe now on the main YouTube channel, because I have 2. The Ridwanullah Organization is the one that I'm focused on right now.
Okay.
And then if you can subscribe to the personal one as well, that works. But Jazakallah khair, man. I was like, anyway, Alhamdulillah, I really, really appreciate it, man. Woo! I was kind of holding on by my seat, like, what's going on?
You're good.
That's amazing, wallahi, man.
Wallahi, you know,
that's amazing.
I was going to say, I was like, man, I hope mine's 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and it's a wrap.
Yeah.
That's what I was hoping. I didn't think it would go like.
Man, this is amazing, wallahi. But inshallah, we definitely have a part 2, part 3, hopefully, however many times we have something valuable to share. I was literally holding on to my seat like this is like a joyride, Allah, mashallah. 40 minutes felt like 4 minutes, but man, you know, when you don't expect that much from something, it always blows your mind in ways that you can't really imagine. And this is definitely a definition of it. I hope that you guys enjoyed this good sample that we've had. We'll definitely keep in touch. Jazakumullah khair, Ridwanullah family, for tuning in to a new episode of the Ridwanullah Show. I'm your host, Life and Wealth Maximizer, with my brother Ajmal, with this amazing interview. Jazakumullah khair. Whoa, baby. I'm lost for words right now. I'm trying to gather myself here.
Thanks for your time.
Jazakallah khair. I really appreciate that, man. And you and your brother and your family as well. Subscribe, like, comment. What you guys think about the interview so far as this good sample. Share this with your family and friends. I'm pretty sure somebody's definitely going to need this motivation and this light that Brother Ajmal brought, bi-idhnillahi ta'ala. Jazakumullah khair, Ridwanullah family, for tuning into a new episode of the Ridwanullah TV show. Your host, Hussein Mohamud, checking out by saying, never ever give up on completely maximizing your life and wealth in this dunya and in the akhirah for the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.